Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Expansive CEO Podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Chapman, and today we are going to talk about resilience and when things don't go right and when the world feels like it's crashing down over and over again. How do you pick yourself back up? How do you find the strength, the support, the team to really help you rise back again? And I have the most incredible guest here today to share her story about just everything that she's experienced over the last, decade plus, and here to tell us about it. So Serena Mastin is here. She is the one who's rising from witness protection, addiction, and personal loss. And she's now an entrepreneur, speaker, and best-selling author committed to empowering others. So Serena, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to dive in with you. Let's hear it. Tell me more.
First, I'm honored to be here. This is special. You are special. So this is exciting. Yes, I believe resilience was supposed to be my middle name. It wasn't. But it felt like it needed to be on many points in my life. As the introduction shares, I didn't start from an easy background. And in addition to being in foster homes and witness protection, I also lived on the streets, struggled with addiction, all of those things that most people don't face. But when you're from, traumatic stories and experiences, you become one of those statistics. And so I was determined not to become a statistic. And the more that I was determined, the more the world threw at me. And so I did climb the corporate ladder. So prior to starting my agency in 2013, I had worked in corporate for 17 years. Um, I was a VP of marketing. I bought my first home when I was 23. So I had all these big, wow, exciting moments. But I was also a single mom and I'd also experienced some really unhealthy relationships and was trying to identify within myself the right patterns and the right behaviors to go on the right path. And so when I left corporate America, I was with my husband Kyle, and we had a blended family. So we had just brought this family together. I had my son and my daughter, and then he had a son. So we had a lot going on. And my mom said prior to me leaving corporate, she said, if you gave a quarter of yourself to your own business instead of all these other, companies you serve, there's no way you wouldn't be successful. And I said, yeah, yeah, mom, you're supposed to say that. And she said, well, if you're not going to do it for me, do it. I mean, if you're not going to do it for you, do it for me. And I said, you are so manipulative because you know I will.
Oh no.
So So I always say I started the agency kicking and screaming, like, oh, I have to prove, that I could do it. Um, and early in the few months that I started the agency, my husband had come home from work early one day. And I looked downstairs and he raises his hands up high and says, I quit my job. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? We have three kids. Like, there's like, what? What happened here? I don't have a paycheck yet. I'm just, getting all of the things established that you would in a business. And he said, well, if I'm going to sell anything, I'm going to sell something I believe in. And so we just started running. And he was the face of the company, even though I was the primary owner, and really was like, just we were growing. And so within the first few years, we hit 1 million. Like it was insane for a marketing agency to grow that quickly.
Yeah.
And on the outside, everyone could see like, oh, this power couple, oh, like wow, they're doing so great. But behind the scenes, there was a lot of things that were happening within our marriage that impacted the business that I was really trying to stabilize. And, after 8 years in business, my husband was struggling with mental health issues. He was struggling with multiple infidelities, including with one of my employees.
Mm,
Yeah, I know that's already hard to hear. I know.
right.
But then in addition to that, he would wrestle with suicidal tendencies. And so every time that there would be an infidelity, it would be, that's it. I'm gonna take my life. So I felt like I was on this tightrope trying to build a business, trying to create a culture for my staff, and then trying to protect my kids, and then going through these motions with my husband that just kept eating away at me.
Hmm.
And I probably would have lasted a lot longer if it didn't start impacting my health.
Yeah.
Because on the outside, I was strong. I got this, everything's okay. On the inside, I was really falling apart. And it took me a long time to get to a place where accepting that I was willing to lose everything if I left him. Because remember, now he's the VP of sales. He works in the business. All of these personal issues are impacting the business, and you can't just call HR.
Right.
Like it's not a, it's more of a situation where you really have to navigate this. And I finally found the courage to leave my husband in October of 2019 after 10 years of marriage. And in March of 2020, he committed suicide.
Mm,
So you can imagine that number one, I was hiding everything. I didn't communicate all of the things that were happening in our marriage. So it was not only a shock for me to leave my husband, to my family, to his family, to the kids, to my team, but then for this, something this, traumatic to happen, um, it was earth shaking.
yeah. Yeah. And when the word that's coming up is like the intertwining of your lives is so deep, right? That it's not just a marriage, but you're also literally building a business together and both crucial pieces of that business. Yeah, how do you keep
I
moving?
know.
Yeah, like how did that even work? Because it was only a few months then, right, between you leaving him and then him taking his own life, and then like what happened? What happened with the agency during that time?
So, in the moment that I left him, I had to then obviously communicate with my kids. I had to communicate the things that I was hiding this whole time. We were going to counseling, so I thought that would be my healing, my checklist, right? Um, but I wasn't truly healing because I was still hiding.
Yeah.
And so in this moment when I left, I had to acknowledge that I was never responsible for his choices. And
Mm,
so therefore I couldn't change them. I couldn't fix them. I couldn't protect him, right? So I had to accept that if I made this decision, and it was a big one because everything started to unravel, right? So I actually didn't know that he was with one of my employees until I told my employees that I left him.
wow.
So meanwhile, while I think I'm being strong, right? While I think that I got it all handled, on the outside looking in, they were afraid to say anything. How would you tell your boss? Like what a horrible situation to be in. And this person was not with the company at the time. She had just left a few months prior, and it didn't connect the dots until they actually said what had happened. And I it was like another level of heartbreak. So it almost validated that I made the right decision. So
Yeah.
I went through, right? Like, oh man, that was rough. And I looked at them and I said, we are not going to let this stop us. We are going to rise up. We are going to, we're going to get past this together. And the first rule is full transparency.
Hmm.
And so that rule was really for me to stop pretending that I had it all together, to stop pretending like I had all the answers. And when I did that and stepped back, it gave them the independence to rise up on their own. And the truth is that in the next few months when he took his life, they carried me while I was broken. And they all rose up to the occasion and really, stabilized the agency while I was still in my healing process because it was just so much to take at that time.
And so this energy of hiding, right, is almost always tied very deeply to shame.
Hmm.
Like how could this be happening, right? Like just the hiding itself. And so what have you noticed since then? Because I would say this is like clearly from all the stories that we hear, I mean, lately in the news, for a timestamp on this, the CEO of Astronomer was caught at a Coldplay concert somewhere, a concert, right, with the head of HR, who they were having an affair, right, and that again, the energy of hiding, right, and so what when that comes to light, and it can really like explode a company, how do you take that energy of hiding? How did you heal from that yourself? Because I think that's something that a lot of people feel, maybe not in that exact same way, but I've heard it from clients in lots of different ways, hiding what you're spending, hiding what your yeah, like what your actual desires are. Like the energy of hiding carries with it so much other baggage.
Well, I didn't recognize hiding until I started writing my book.
Mm,
So everyone that I've ever met that heard my story was like, prior to my husband's death, because of the witness protection and all of these things, they were like, you need to write a book. And I was like, well, I ain't doing that because I'm not a writer. And as I actually took on that challenge to write my story, I did it because it was a part of my healing process. But what it uncovered was my pattern to hide stemmed from hiding as a 5-year-old little girl in the closet when I was being sexually abused by my father. Like that moment was the beginning of hiding. Feeling like I had to earn approval or protect other people started in that moment as a little girl. And then I repeated those patterns continuously. So I think the first step is awareness, because I wouldn't have seen that if somebody didn't bring it to light. And a good example is was speaking with a counselor before I left my husband, and I said, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Like I'm an amazing wife. I'm running a business. I'm a great mom. I mean, like I'm good in bed. Like I do it all. And I was like,
magical.
how could yeah, I'm a unicorn, okay? Like I was like, how could he possibly like be cheating? I don't understand. And he said to me, the counselor, he said, you may be all of those things, but you can't earn love. It has to be freely given. You can't earn approval. These are things that you have to own within yourself, and then they'll shine within you and outside of you, and you'll start to like bring in the right people in your life. And I just remember in that moment, it was like a light bulb went off that my entire life, I felt like I had to hide, protect, and like be strong for everyone else. Um, and so that hiding piece is such a powerful piece that really we do in so many different ways. And so my book is called Exposed. You
Mm.
can't heal when you hide,
Yeah.
because the truth is that we all are hiding something. And until we fully accept and expose our truth, and it doesn't mean we have to, just so all the listeners know, you do not have to go write a book about the most intimate details of your life to stop hiding. Okay, that was my choice. But I do have to say, you have to have that internal self reflection, that self awareness, then that self regulation to see when you're in those moments, how to shift and change that behavior, and the self management to create new behaviors, right? So the awareness is part of the first step.
Oh, it's so, so powerful and so important. Because you're right. Yeah. Like without, without some, for some people, it's someone else to help you reflect or, the right book or the right podcast or the right journaling prompts, right? Like we have to take that time to look inside, to reflect. Otherwise, that energy of hiding feels a lot just like self-preservation.
Yes. And what I didn't even recognize is all of the health issues that I was having was in part due to the fact that I kept trying to do so much that my tolerance level for stress kept increasing. So I didn't even recognize that I was in a stressful situation because my tolerance had gone, through the roof. So even sometimes you can't even recognize it because you keep putting yourself in those stressful situations. And so you thrive in it instead of stepping back and recognizing, how am I feeling? What is it doing to my body? Am I doing this for the right reason? We just get on this hamster wheel and we keep running. And in life and as an entrepreneur, it does feel like that in many situations. It's feast or famine. You have all of these new clients coming in now, run, and you have to keep all the clients. And do we have enough people to keep them, right? Like you're constantly in this push pull. So sometimes it's stepping back and not just recognizing, how am I behaving in this moment, but also understanding that it's okay to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, oof, you're hitting on something like so, so important. Because that stress tolerance, that when you pile it on and pile it on and you can handle it and you can take on more and you can take on more. Yeah, there's, like you can do that for a while. You might be able to do
Yeah,
that for years even.
my body was in fight or flight for, I would say, the first 30 years of my life, like fight or flight, constant. And when I stopped, when my husband took his life, a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't imagine what you felt in that moment." But the truth was, and it's really hard to say, and some people don't understand it, but when you're in a cycle of chaos for that long, it felt like the calm after the storm.
Mm.
And so in that moment, I had to, my body like just stopped. So all that fight or flight mentality and those stressors and my neurons, all the things were like going 100 miles an hour and then just stopped. And I thought something was wrong with me. But in reality, my body was trying to heal itself.
Yeah.
It now had the permission to heal.
Yeah, that's what was kind of coming up for me too, is that feeling of like when you do finally stop and when you finally give yourself the space to heal, what that can look like. And for, I mean, this is like a lot of women, a lot of women experience this. I'm sure there are men that experience it too. I hear it more. from women, especially entrepreneurs, that when you allow yourself to stop and slow down and heal, on the other side of that, the sensitivity that you have is so exquisite. And it then tells you exactly when and where you're doing too much, right?
Yes.
And so it's this like, there's this like, there can be this moment of like, oh my God, I can't do anything, or I can't do like anything, quote unquote, meaning I can't do the 17 different jobs that I was doing before. So now I'm not as
Yeah.
capable, right? Which is
And
not
now I'm broken.
right. Right.
You're
Exactly.
100% right. I thought that I was broken because in a sense I was broken, right? It was breaking me down to then rebuild a part of me that needed the most healing. And what I thought was success is doing all these things and juggling all these things and raising the kids. And, I had a staff of 15 at the time and then office and, running payroll and invoicing and making sure, like I thought when it stopped that I was failing.
Mm,
But the truth is that when I was in those hamster wheel moments, I wasn't allowing other people to rise up. I
mhm.
was taking on way too much and thinking that that was my purpose or that was my job or I was just trying to help, all the things we tell ourselves. And in reality, I was taking away an opportunity for people within my team to rise up, friends and family to come in and help. Because it's really hard to help someone who has it all together.
Right. Right. And that's on the other side of that too is that willingness to and ability to receive help from others,
Yeah.
to be open, to be like be not just okay with, but willingly
And to
open up.
not attach shame to asking for help.
Yeah.
Now, when you ask for help, you don't have to say, I need help because all of these personal reasons. What you do is you ask for help in a way that allows the other person to feel empowered. Like, I'm really having a rough time. I feel like this is a weight on my shoulders. Is there any way that you can help me with this? It's not, here's all my dirty laundry. Can you take some of it? Right? Like
Yeah.
it's really thinking about like I'm not here to push all of this on anyone else, right? I want to share that I need help because I want to make them feel empowered, but I also need that that little bit of relief because I'm just carrying too much. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, as a leader, most people don't think to ask to help you, right? Like they're like, you just tell me what to do, right? They
Right.
get in that tell me what to do mentality. And until you give them the opportunity, your employees, your team, the people around you won't know, number one, that you need it, and number two, that that there is an opportunity for them to be a part of something bigger.
And with that as well, like that giving other people the ability to rise to the occasion, letting them grow, letting them learn, letting them, figure things out. I mean, it also creates different solutions. It creates the space for more creativity and opportunity because
Yes.
your brain can't hold everything. Your system, kid doesn't receive all the wisdom from you. Everyone has their own
No.
channel, right? Their own unique creativity.
And I can tell you this much is that I didn't want to have all the answers,
Hmm.
but I put myself in a position where I was the only one with the answers. And when I finally stepped back and allowed other people to come in and run different parts, it was beautiful because not only did they have better answers and solutions, but they were growing and evolving in their roles. And two of the individuals that really stepped up in that time are now leaders within the organization. Like, and they both started in an entry level position. And now 7 years later, they're leading the company. Like,
Mm,
but I would have never seen that if I didn't give them the opportunity to step in when number one, I needed it most. But number two, I needed to stop pretending that I had all the answers. And I needed to start encouraging others to come in and provide value.
mm. And how, so this gets to a really important how you did that, right? Like, how were you able to find, the right way, the right process, um, from being the over functioning CEO, right? Like, this is what you're doing, to being the one that can empower others. Um, you know, you went with the EOS system, right? And like, so
Yes.
how did that come together for you? Um, and just to, can you give a little bit of a description of what that means for people who maybe don't know?
Yes. So first, EOS is the entrepreneur operating system. It's vision, values, purpose, people. So it basically is the framework of an organization, and it creates clarity and milestones. So everyone that is on the team has clear guidelines as to, and they create them themselves. Here's the 10-year goal. Here's the 3-year goal. Here's the 1-year goal. And then to get there, I have, rocks that are, 90-day rocks that they create all leading up to the big picture.
Mm.
So when everything fell apart, I lost my VP of sales, which was really challenging when you're in a service-based business and sales is your lifeline for most businesses.
Right.
Um, and I'm not a salesperson, but I was the everything else. So what I had to do is I had to implement something that would allow the team to have a clear path forward while I had to then face my fear of sales and put myself in that seat. So it was a beautiful process. We were not in a financial position to even bring in an implementer. In fact, when my husband passed away, his insurance was canceled prior to him passing. So we had 200,000 in medical bills. When I went through the accounting and saw all of the excess expenses that I had allowed to happen because I was so consumed with trying to like stop the chaos, there was over 400,000 in debt for
Wow.
the business. All of this happened right in the middle of COVID. Our office got broken into and somebody stole $40,000 worth of equipment. Like it was like the volcano erupted and everything that could be like raise the white flag, I quit, I'm filing bankruptcy, that could have been the easy answer. But I felt personally responsible for allowing some of these things to happen. And so by implementing EOS, it literally empowered my team by giving them tools, training, the framework of identifying what are the core like functionalities of a business and what do we need to do to make this run like a machine.
Mm.
And that's when we took the biggest risk because you don't have anything and you're scrapping together what you do have. We got rid of the office. That's when most of our team just went fully remote. Um, at this point, I was living in a hotel with my kids. Like it was rock bottom. And I just wasn't going to let that stop me. I found a way to invest in EOS so that I knew that there would be stability in the future. there'd be vision in the future, that there would be processes in place. And I honestly could say if I didn't do that, I don't think I would still be here today. And we're 5 years later now.
Mm. It's such an important thing like to ground yourself in that you are not supposed to do everything. You're not. You're not. And as entrepreneurs, we feel like we don't have another choice a lot of times, right? And there are points where yes, you're wearing multiple hats for a while. Um, but that's like pulling in the right team, pulling in a process to help you fill those seats correctly, right? Like it's such an Achilles heel, I think, for most entrepreneurs, especially ones that are more like the visionary type,
Hmm.
right? Like I'm great at the big vision, but like the implementation part is hard. You
And
really
I
do
was
need that
the
integrator.
opposite. I loved being the integrator. I did not want to be the visionary.
Oh,
I
so
was like,
interesting. That's so
I like
funny.
I like to put processes in place and curate culture and events, and I want to have goals and milestones and strategy. Like I was all about that. And so but I knew that I had to separate myself from that and reposition myself into the visionary seat in order to, number one, face my fear of sales, put myself out there because I kept hiding behind operations, right?
Mm,
Like that was my safe space, and give them the tools that they needed to thrive while I was still in my healing journey. And I'm still, processing and healing through all of this. Um, it's not okay, here's the checklist and it's done. It's not just a season. It comes in waves. And so through all of that, I knew I had to separate myself from the things that would keep me distracted and busy and really put myself in front of the things that I was most afraid of.
mm. And how does that look today? So 5 years later, I mean, you were at, millions in sales before. Like, what do your businesses look like now?
So we went from hitting over 1 million to, I think our lowest point was 600,000. We had to do, layoffs. We had to go with not just hybrid work, but hybrid schedules. Um, and it was rough because I knew the reason I had to focus on sales is because that machine is what actually allows everything else to happen.
Yeah.
And so I would say now we've stabilized. Now we're growing and we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's not easy. It feels like you're climbing this mountain forever. But the beauty is that out of all that debt, I've been able to pay off 70% of that debt in the last 5 years. Like, so I've really zeroed in on creating a more healthy, sustainable, long-term vision. And I didn't do that alone. My team had goals and milestones. What do we need to do differently to reduce our expenses? And all of them came to the table with different ideas that helped us through this process. But we wouldn't have known how to do that without a framework like EOS, creating these milestones and then checking in with each of those team members on a weekly basis, seeing where they were and what they needed, and then processing issues, identifying how to hire the right people and to actually like allow the people that are not serving the company well, like making those decisions faster. And so we're small, but we're mighty. And
Mhm.
so we went from a 17-person company in this 3,000 square foot office, and now there's seven of us. So we've definitely scaled back, but we've gotten more efficient. We've gotten smarter. We've reduced expenses. And honestly, I can take a week or 2 weeks off and not feel like everything's going to catch on fire. Like it's a beautiful feeling.
Well, and it sounds like you became more profitable as well. Like honestly,
Oh,
if you're
yes.
able to pay off
Yes.
debt, you that means you had like excess. You had profit to be able to do that.
Yes. And that in itself was terrifying because when you're in this position, you're consolidating debt, you're canceling different services that you may not have needed. And so you start to actually see your profit increase, which allows you that variance to put it back into it. I did not want to file for bankruptcy because I felt like I need to own this
Mm.
and I just need to face it head on. And I can tell you that within the next 2 years, my goal is August 1st of 2027 that I will be a debt-free company,
Mm. I
which is
feel that. Yeah.
sounds crazy, but that is my goal.
Mm. And your what I'm hearing from that is the one, I mean, you've been through so many different fires already, right? Like you've been through it. And the fact that, the majority of businesses close their doors between in the first 5 years and then in the next, by 10 years, like the remainder are even smaller. Like you have persisted.
We're 13 years in, I'm going to keep going.
Right? You're still there, but you still have also these goals and these the ability to create that profit. And then when the debt is
And it,
gone, then it's just profit.
yes, and I have to say that the pendulum continues to swing, right? Like feast or famine does not stop at a certain point. Like, no matter how many measures you put in place, no matter how methodical you are about diversifying your market and right, like diversifying your pricing and how do you, create this customer experience program to keep your clients longer. No matter what, there's always going to be this pendulum that swings back and forth. And you learn how to put measures in place so that it swings just a little bit less
Hmm.
and you learn how to deal with some of those obstacles with clarity instead of in chaos. And so it's not an easy process. I wish I could say, and we're a $1 billion company now. But at the end of the day, it's real life, right? And I'm human and I make mistakes all the time. And in that, I keep going back to the basics, which is implementing systems and processes that help everyone see the vision and clearly start to take those baby steps towards progress.
Mm. So, Serena, you have written a book, you have, created a marketing agency. Like what else can people, especially if they've heard this and are like, okay, well, like this woman is amazing because clearly, yes. Where can people find you? What can they look for, and how you can engage?
As you could tell, I'm passionate about EOS because it saved my company. So I'm also an advisor for EOS. And so if there's ever questions or about life, business, or some sort of system to help them get it together, you can find me on LinkedIn under Serena Mastin, or you can easily find me at serenamastin.com. That's my author website. And then Pulse Marketing Team is my agency.
Mm, it's so beautiful. Serena, I just, I'm so glad that you're still here and that you're thriving and that you have been literally a living example of resilience and still being a beautiful bright light even
Oh,
through and after so much darkness, right? Like you are like a living embodiment of light.
I see that when you take down those layers and those masks, there is a huge bright light that is just waiting to be let out. And if you saw a picture of me before and you compare it to now, you'd be like blown away that taking all of that off of my shoulders just gave me this weightlessness. And that's where this light comes from.
Mm, I love it. You're such a beautiful example, and I can't wait to see where you go from here, right? It's you have just so much opportunity in front of you. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, if you have any links, if you want to connect with Serena, just go down in the show notes and you'll find her LinkedIn, her websites, all of that so you can connect further. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe. And again, if anything resonated with you from this episode, I would love to hear from you. Email me at Hannah, HANNAH, at expansiveceo.com and tell me about it. And if you're ready for your greatest expansion, you can find ways to work with me at expansiveceo.com and at x2wealthplanning.com. That's X, the numeral 2, wealthplanning.com. So until next time, remember that there is enough, you are enough, and your birthright in this lifetime is to be expansive.